All right, we're going to look at factoring out a GCF. So first off, what is a GCF? Okay, GCF is the greatest common factor, and this is the largest number and or variable that all factors in your expression have in common. And just a kind of reminder, factors are numbers that we can multiply together to get another number. So like 2 and 3 are factors of 6. All right, so let's look at the GCF of 35 and 15. So factors of 35 are 1 and 35 and 5 and 7. Factors of 15 are 1 and 15 and 3 and 5. So what is the biggest factor that those two have in common? Well, we know they have 1s in common, but they both also have 5 in common. Okay, so the greatest common factor of 5 and 15 is 5. Okay, now looking at 40x squared and 32x cubed, well, start with the numbers. So factors of 40 are 1 and 40, 2 and 20, 4 and 10, and then 5 and 8. Then factors of 32 are 1 and 32, 2 and 16, 4 and 8. So what is the largest they have in common? Well, 8 looks to be the biggest. So I know 8 is. But now both of them have an x that is common to both of them. They both have at least 1. So when you're dealing with variables, the one with the smallest exponent is your GCF. So x squared is my greatest common factor of the variables. So 8x squared is my GCF for 40x squared and 32x cubed. All right, so now we're going to talk about what is factoring. Okay, factoring is the process of writing a polynomial as a product of two factors. In essence, two expressions that multiply together to create the original polynomial. One way to think of this is we're undistributing, okay? It's the reverse process of the multiplying. So, factoring out a GCF, first thing I want to do is I want to identify the GCF. So of 54, I've got those 4 factors. And then factors of 9 are 1 and 9 and 3 and 3. So what is the largest? Well, in this case, 9 is my largest of the numbers. So 9, and then smallest exponent variable with, or the variable with the smallest exponent, so v. So 9v is my GCF. So we're going to divide each term by our GCF. So 54 v to the 6 minus 9v, and we're going to divide everything by that 9v. Okay, so 54 divided by 9 is 6, and v to the 6 divided by v is v to the 5th. And we're going to minus 9 divided by 9 is 1. V divided by v is also 1. So we get 6v to the 5th minus 9, and we're going to write our greatest common factor out front. Okay, so we're going to factor out a GCF for this. So we got 18, 9, and 12. We're not going to worry about the signs. So factors of 18, factors of 9, and factors of 12. So what is the greatest common factor all of these have? Okay, well, they all have 3. So we know for sure that we're dividing each of these by 3. Now, each of these terms does have an m, so we're going to take the m with the smallest exponent, which is m squared. So we're going to take 18 divided by 3, and then m6 divided by m squared gives me m to the 4th. Then we're minusing 9 divided by 3 is 3, m squared, or m fourth to divide by m squared gives me m squared. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. M squared divided by m squared cancels out my m's. And my 3m squared goes out from of my parentheses. All right, let's look at another one. I've got 18a squared minus 5a minus 40a to the fourth. So there's my factors of 18, my factors of 5, and my factors of 40. So let's look at what do they all have in common. Well, as we're kind of looking, they all have 1 in common. Let's see if there's anything else. 18 and 40 both have 2, but nothing else. 5 and 40 have 5, but nothing else. So the only number they have in common is 1. Okay, now let's look at, they all have a variable? Yes, they all have a. So we're going to factor out the variable with the smallest exponent. So in this case, a. So we're dividing by 1, a. So that's my GCF. So negative 18 divided by 1a. Well, that gives me negative 18. A squared divided by a gives me a. Negative 5a divided by 1a gives me negative 5. Negative 40a to the fourth divided by 1a gives me negative 40a to the third. So there would be my... Okay, so we're looking at another one. We've got negative 28c squared minus 35c minus 7. So we're going to look at factors of 28, factors of 35, and factors of 7. So what do all three of these numbers have in common? Well, they all have a 7. So we're dividing everything by 7. Now, since all of these do not have a variable, we're not going to factor out a variable. So we get negative 28c squared divided by 7, giving me negative 4c squared minus 5. 35 divided by 7 is 5c, and then negative 7 divided by 7 is 1. So we don't always have a variable that's going to factor out. All right. So I've got 15x squared y plus 24x y to the fourth. So looking at factors of 15 and 24, what do they have in common? Okay, well, they both have 3. I think that's the largest one. Now notice I do have double variable. Okay, as long as that variable is common to all, we can factor it out. So in this case, we're going to factor out an x from each. And then we're also factor out a y from each, because those are my smallest exponents, variables and exponents. And we're going to do each of those individually. Okay, so 3xy is our greatest common factor there. So 15 divided by 15, or 15 divided by 3 is 5. X squared divided by x gives me x. Y divided by y cancels out. We're good there. Plus 24 divided by 3 is 8. X divided by x cancels out. And y to the fourth divided by y gives me y to the third. All right. That is all I have for this video. I will see you in the next.